Culture, defined by New International Dictionary, is the complex of distinctive attainments, beliefs, traditions, which constitute the background of a racial, religious, or social group. Therefore, it should be understood as the entire way of life. Architecture, as a long-lasting media, not only crystallizes the culture, but also has the duty to pass culture from generation to generation. Affected by the craze of modernization, countless aging architecture has been demolished. Some of them are even historical inheritance. This rude phenomenon is mostly driven by profit or ignorance of culture values. As the source of Oriental culture, Chinese culture is famous for its profound and richness. Architecture is one of its important components, narrating stories of people, recording the revolving of urbanity, and reflecting the internal logic and beliefs. Unfortunately, things happened in last century changes Chinese destiny. After Opium War, Chinese lost confidence to their culture, affected by Western powerful armament. Since 1919, the New Culture movement, creating a new culture based on global and Western standards, critically shocked the traditional Chinese culture. After 100 years learning from the West, we completed the preliminary modernization at the expense of our own culture. Now it is about the time to make a balance between them. As a living example of ancient Chinese city planning, Beijing faces the dilemma of turning into a modern metropolis or preserving the traditional cityscape that may be archaic to the contemporary urban life. In contrast to the court life represented by the Forbidden City, Hutong is considered as the most typical cultural element of the city of Beijing. Following the failure of Chinese culture, since the mid-20th century, the number of hutong has dropped dramatically as gave way to wide boulevards and high-rises. But good thing is, recently the remaining hutongs have received attention from government and the whole society. Although old neighborhoods survive today, how to revitalize them become a big challenge. From 1966 to 1976, during the Cultural Revolution, the Beijing City Planning Office was closed down, resulting in the uncontrolled occupation and development of land. Large numbers of people drifted into the city during this period, sowing the seeds of today's overpopulation in residential courtyards. As a result, Hutong area has to house the additional residents by dividing the courtyard houses and building extension structures in the courtyard. Since then, Sihe Yuan, which originally designed for single family, become to compound occupied by many households. The living environment is getting worse and worse. Gradually, like people say, hutongs are becoming the slum for the local, the haven for the wealth, the theme park for tourists. In order to achieve the goal of preserving the hutong culture, bringing back the spatial qualities and experiences is the destiny. Now, the problem is about where to create the extra living space. Accepting all of the limits come out of the site, new buildings have no choice other than going up to the sky. Following the logic of old city planning, in order to bring out the monumentally historical architecture on the site, the buildings around them should be as low as possible. In this case, superimposing another layer on top of the context buildings seems to be a good idea. However, in this way, not only the natural lighting but also the traditional cityscape has been blocked by the new structure. This would be the last thing we want. Since our goal is preserving the Hutong area and the courtyard residences, we should keep the context as possible as we can, so that the land is extremely limited. A group of towers with footprints as small as possible naturally comes into being the proper strategy. Based on a series of height limits, the extra living area needed is distributed to towers with various of heights. Following the logic of the context, a unit with a courtyard would be one floor, which constitutes the high-rise by stacking up in a way exposing each courtyard to daylight. As for the circulation, because of the tight budget of floor area, Only a core with one elevator and one safety stair can be built inside of the building. Therefore, double helix stairs wrap around outside of the building body are needed, which simultaneously increases the intricacy and evocatively symbolizes an image of traditional Chinese architecture. By connecting to some of the existing buildings, the new high-rise expands the lobby area without taking down any surrounding buildings for crowds of residents dispersing. Just like the relationship between Siheyuan and Hutong, these stairs could also be conceived as extending Hutong space that wrapped up the Siheyuan units in the sky. Not only the new high-rises project become part of its context, but also forms a unique landscape which echoes the traditional culture of Chinese architecture and landscape. The cultural property of architecture has to be conveyed by form, yet form influenced by the underlying culture and the construction technology. As a result, architecture shows features of times and regions. As this project shows, although the steel structure and high-rise building typology is a product of this age, the entire spatial experiences come out of the inner logic of the traditional Chinese residential neighborhood. Meanwhile, thanks to the modern construction technology, these towers add a contemporary color to the ancient cityscape. In the mixed condition, the ever-changing lifestyle, construction material, and tectonics intertwined with the constant culture and ideology, what the architecture should look like and how to serve the new generation is a real challenge. This project might not be the best response, and surely not the only approach. As an experiment, it's aiming to initiate the attention to the culture aspect of architecture.